One thing about the book is the chapters themselves. They're not in chronological order because I want all these stories to kind of be standalone pieces. So it's not really a memoir, even though like I'm going to kind of place it as such. They're just a series of standalone articles. So this one goes way back to like 19. I think it was like 1983. It's back when I still lived in Peoria, Illinois, and it's called probably one of the worst nights in Richie Haven's life because I'm sure that it was. I don't know if he remembers it, but basically, in a nutshell, this chapter, it's I was coming home from work, and if you don't know who Richie Havens is, maybe some of you kids out there don't know who he is. He was a famous folk singer, and he opened the first Woodstock. He was the opening act, and it kind of really made him, and he was really big for a while. And I was coming home from work in Peoria after working at Fleming Potter, and on the show there was an advertisement for him playing in some bar's beer garden in Peoria, and I was like, Richie Havens playing in a beer garden in Peoria? It's like, how far could you have fallen? Because and plus his beer garden, it only held like 20 people, and I just couldn't imagine it. So the stories, we went there, and I went with my friend Tim, and we ate a ton of hash and got really high, and some stuff happened, and I kind of ruined the show for him, and it kind of, I'm sure it was one of the worst nights of his life. I mean, what I pray happens, because I think he might live in Manhattan. I know he lives somewhere here in New York. I would love to see him and go up and say, hey, do you remember that show in Peoria back in the 80s when he played the beer garden? And just see if he remembers. I doubt I'd apologize to him, but maybe he would think it was funny. Maybe he'd hit me in the mouth. But anyway, here's two paragraphs from that chapter. Probably one of the worst nights in Richie Haven's life. One of folk singer Richie Haven's biggest claim to fame is that he was the opening act at the legendary musical festival Woodstock. That was probably the greatest time of his life. I can't officially say this, but I think after you read this story, you'll agree that I was probably responsible for one of the worst nights of his life. Sometime in the early 80s, when I was still living in Peoria, Illinois, I was driving home from work and heard an ad on an FM station for a local bar announcing that Richie Havens would be playing in their beer garden on the following Thursday night. I was intrigued. I can't remember the name of the bar, so we'll just call it Bugger's Bar. Bugger's was only a few blocks from the apartment complex where I lived, and it was kind of a dump. The bar itself was dark, had a couple pool tables, and a vintage jukebox in the corner. In the back was a beer garden with a couple of picnic tables. It would be lucky if 50 people could fit in there. And Richie Havens was going to be playing there? Talk about your Spinal Tap moment. Hello, Cleveland! Well, I guess that should be hello, Peoria. Or maybe just hello, beer garden. Anyway, playing in Bugger's Beer Garden was a gig I would have expected a local band to turn down, but Richie Havens? This guy had sold a lot of records through the years and was a famous musician. Sure, Peoria was probably a pit stop on the way to a bigger gig in Chicago, but still, Bugger's Beer Garden? I knew one thing though, I was going to go.